Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy T for 365 Horror, and this is a horror movie discovery channel. I am just here to put as many horror movies on your watch list as possible, and we're going to be looking at every single brand new streaming horror release for the week of September 8th, and plus, getting into my trailer reactions. So let's get into it right now. Now we're going to get right into the video, but before we do, I just want to remind you guys to like and subscribe. And oh my God, what a week it has been. It has been a crazy week. Not to top it off, last week my football team lost the first week, but we got a lot of football going this week. Really big boxing match. I'm kind of a bit of a sports guy as well as horror movies and gaming. I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm pretty excited for that. But I know that after the week that everyone has had, all we want to do is sit back and watch some horror movies. And the good thing is there actually is a couple of decent horror movies that came out this week. Now I did watch a couple of movies this week, but I'm going to admit, not only did I watch a ton of football, like a degenerate amount of football, but I also watched a degenerate amount of news for obvious reasons, just trying to figure out exactly what's going on. So I didn't actually get to watch too many movies last week. I only really got to watch two, but the first one was Ziam, or Ziam, I believe it's called, and that was a pretty good movie. It was a good watch. It was fun. They didn't push it as far as I would have liked. I thought that the action scenes were just going to be a little bit better, but it was a fun movie, pretty bloody. It had some good hooks and whatnot, but just overall, it was just an okay fun watch. And the other new movie that I watched this week was the movie Else, that one where it was like people were merging with their surroundings. And even though this movie was a partial romance and you feel it when you watch it, this was a really good movie, a little bit artsy and avant-garde. So if you want like a traditional creeps and scares or gore, you're not going to get it with this film, but you do get a lot of like emotion and heart, like just between the characters, even in their short interactions, and just a really interesting kind of setting and feeling. It was actually a pretty good movie. I could see it being a little bit polarizing because, you know, there's people who are going to think it's trash because it is a little bit of a slower movie. But overall, I actually thought that if you like kind of artsy, deeper narratives with character and a lot of like kind of haunting, maybe not haunting monologues, but a couple of good ones that you're like, wow. And I don't know, it just had a lot of feeling in it. So if you are into that type of horror, then I suggest you check out the movie Else. All right, and let's not waste any more time. The first movie we're going to take a look at this week is a straight horror named Scissors. And this movie is available on Tubi. Wait! Scissors is a thrilling tribute to slasher movies from the 70s and 80s that follows the terrifying journey of a college student, Courtney, and her friends as they are hunted by a serial killer clown known as Scissors. It is directed by Harry Sparks. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Scissors, this one unfortunately looks like a little bit of a meh clown slasher. Now, as always, we're going to get into the good first. This one absolutely nails that kind of throwback, nostalgic 80s horror vibe. It just has a really kind of gritty aesthetic. It's sleazy, and of course, it's got a good amount of the obligatory TNA. We've also got a full circle of friends lined up, so you know that they're in for some gruesome, agonizing deaths. But here's the problem. Everything else just felt kind of cheesy, like the gore was barely there, and I really think that in a slasher film like this, that's part of what they should focus on, but instead in the trailer, they really kind of lean on that TNA, and while, you know, I do make jokes about how I'm like always so into that, and I am, but I mean, come on, we have the internet for that. And then when it comes to the acting, it was also kind of wooden, and I know that that might be intentional because they're trying to mimic the era, but it actually came off more like they were trying than anything that just felt natural. So at the end of the day, yeah, it's still a slasher, yeah, it does have some TNA in it, so I'm not going to count the film out, but unfortunately, all jokes aside, I do need more, and so for that reason, I think this one's going to get a lower spot on my watch list.
I've been having nightmares.
About what?
Scissors. Scissors the clown.
That serial killer who's been in the news lately?
He attacked me and some of my friends at a party recently.
Oh my God.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is another straight horror named Tomb Watcher, and this movie is available on Netflix. After Luntham's death, her husband and mistress moved into their villa, but upon arrival, they discovered a glass coffin containing her body, leading to a terrifying revenge path. It is directed by Vithanyu Inkawiwat. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Tomb Watcher, this one looks like a pretty solid revenge horror. Now, one of the things that I really like about these Asian horrors is I find that they kind of embrace and really trying to kind of lean into those traditional creeps and scares, as opposed to the contrast of Western horror that really has become more of kind of like a bleak grief thing. So that's always refreshing to kind of go back to that. And I really think that the premise for this one works because I just love the idea of a guy kind of moving into his, like, a house with his mistress only to find out that his wife's dead body is there. I mean, that kind of angle feeds perfectly into the revenge stuff, and it really leaves just some really juicy questions about, like, the sordid relationship hanging in the air. Now, for the only downside for this one is that it does look like it is subtitled, and I know that that really does turn some viewers off. But still, I thought Tomb Watcher, with some of the creepy visions and some of the like good scares, it actually looked pretty decent, so I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
ที่นี่เหรอคะที่นี่คือบ้านของเราไงส่วนต้นลั่นทมต้นนี้ก็จะเป็นตัวแทนความรักของเราบ้านเราจากมุมนี้สวยจังเลยค่ะแต่มีต้นลั่นทมตั้งอยู่หน้าบ้านไม่มงคลเลย
รถขับรถใจเย็นๆก่อนนะคะ
เหตุผลอะไรที่มันต้องอยู่ที่นี่
ลั่นทมเขียนพินัยกรรมเอาไว้ถ้าเกิดเราอยู่กับศพได้ครบ100 วันทุกอย่างจะเป็นของเรา
Next movie we're going to take a look at is another straight horror named Strange Frequencies, Taiwan Killer Hospital. And this movie is available on Netflix. Reality TV stars face mounting supernatural horrors while filming at haunted Jingling Hospital in Taiwan. As paranormal activities intensify, group dynamics crumble, and a dark force manipulates their survival choices. It is directed by Kerwin Go. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Strange Frequencies, this one looks like a pretty good found footage horror. Now, the creeps and scares in this film, honestly, they look great. It's got that really good kind of setting of an old hospital vibe, and I really like how they throw in just a bunch of, like, really sharp jump scares to keep that tension alive. Now, even though gore-wise we don't see a ton, we do see some pretty kind of gnarly scenes. We see some, like, pretty, like, graphic throw-up things. So even though we don't see a ton of gore, I still think the film might keep some edge. Now, what I also like is the setup, because you've got like a circle of friends running this like haunted TV shows. And I think it may do a good job of giving us some like fun and entertaining downtime instead of the usual mundane filler that we're used to in a found footage. And one of the bonuses is that even though this is like a Filipino movie, it really appears like a lot of it is in English. And I know that for a lot of viewers, that's a plus. Overall, I think Strange Frequencies is bringing in some pretty good creeps and scares. I'm almost getting like a Gonjiam Haunted Asylum vibe. So I think this one's going to get a regular to just a little bit of a higher spot on my watch list.
Hi viewers, welcome to Strange Frequencies, the first ever Filipino live streaming show from the most haunted places in the world.
Jenny, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, gusto ko may nakita. I promise, may nakita ako kanina.
What the fuck is that?
May nakita ako kanina. Kaya nakita mo ba yun, Ken?
All right, next movie we're going to take a look at is another straight horror named The McKinney Family Home Videos Volume 2. And this one is available for free with ads on the app Found TV. Another tape is uncovered documenting the inner workings of the Church of the Holy Mother, its leader Diana, and their godhead Lilith. It is directed by Nick Catrufo. Okay, so after watching the trailer for the McKinney Family Home Videos, just because of how little they show, this one looks like a little bit of a meh found footage horror. Now, what I did like from the little glimpse that they gave us is that it gave us a really good kind of gritty VHS style aesthetic. And I found that that kind of grainy, real, just old video look always hits a little harder in a found footage. And I find that it does a really good job of kind of making the film feel more authentic. But beyond that, I found that the trailer really doesn't give us much, and because I haven't seen part 1 of this series, there's just so much unknown. Like, I don't know if it looks scary, I don't know if it looks bloody, tension. There's just too many unknowns there. Now, one thing that kind of did give me hope, and I know that directors and producers can kind of put anything they want in the trailers, like for their little ad reads, but this one calls itself a masterclass of atmosphere. So if it can actually hold up, because like I said, even though we only get some panning shots, it does with the music give a good atmosphere. So if it can really hold that from front to end, the film might have like a good creepy weight to it. But still, there's just too many questions there, but I am curious because I do love found footage. But unfortunately, this one's still gonna just get a little bit of a lower spot on my watch list. Next movie we're going to take a look at is a comedy horror named The Fetus. And this movie is available on Google Play, Apple TV, and Prime Video. A couple becomes pregnant with a half-human, half-demonic fetus with a thirst for blood and must uncover its terrifying origins before it's too late. It is directed by Joe Lamb. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Fetus, this one looks like a solid body horror with some good kind of creepy occult vibes. Now, first thing that really hooked me was the premise, because a demonic fetus growing inside a character and also being tied to its ancestry is just a good fresh angle that builds a little bit of mystery and tension. Now, gore-wise in this one, although we don't see much, we do get some pretty quick glimpses of the fetus, and honestly, it's pretty gross. And the way that they constantly show us these visions of it like wriggling out of her vajayjay, it just feels raw and uncomfortable. What surprised me is after I watched the trailer, finding out that it was a comedy horror, because while I did watch the trailer, I did find that it did have a couple of like good quips, but I thought that it was just the comic relief for the movie, because it really was nothing that felt zany, and it actually felt like it stayed pretty grounded. All in all, I think The Fetus looks decent because it's got a creepy premise, some gross imagery, and really just enough intrigue. So I think this one's going to land a regular spot on my watch list.
You're pregnant. That can't be right. He always wears a condom.
Oh, shit.
Have you been lying to me?
Whoa, wait a second.
Do you remember when I told you that my body doesn't work the same as everyone else's?
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a horror mystery named Weapons. And this movie is available on Google Play, Apple TV, and Prime Video. When all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanishes on the same night at exactly the same time, the community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. It is directed by Zach Kreger. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Weapons, this one looks like a really good supernatural kind of witch horror. Now, the first thing that really stood out to me about the trailer is that they really give you a mystery that grabs you right away. And it just presents a story that honestly, it hooks you instantly. Now, on the scare front, it doesn't have a ton of scares, but some of it looks pretty creepy. And even though, again, the film doesn't really also have like a ton of gore, at least in the trailer, it does have a lot of disturbing imagery that makes me think that this will just be a viscerally raw movie. Like, you get people stabbing themselves repeatedly in the face, which is just crazy. And honestly, when it comes to like disturbing stuff like that, I'm all in. Now, Weapons looks like the kind of film that will disturb you and creep you out, and then through its mystery, drop some really good killer revelations. Now, after watching the trailer for this one, it looks so good that I really can't see any hesitation, and I think that this one's going to be an immediate watch on my watch list.
This is a true story that happened right here in my town. A lot of people die in a lot of really weird ways in this story, but you're not going to find it in the news.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named Strange Harvest. And this one's available on Google Play and Prime Video. Detectives are thrust into a chilling hunt for Mr. Shiny, a sadistic serial killer from the past whose return marks the beginning of a new wave of grotesque, otherworldly crimes tied to a dark cosmic force. It is directed by Stuart Ortiz. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Strange Harvest, this one looks like a solid found footage serial killer horror. Now, what grabbed me at first was that really brutal vibe, because found footage can have some really gut-wrenching kills if they don't like throw in blur or shakiness or cut away. And this film, like with some of the kills that we see in the trailer, it does cut away because it's a trailer, but just from the cuts, it looks like it's going to show us something like pretty brutal and unflinching. And you can really tell that the film is going to lean into that raw style because like right in the trailer, the way that they just find like a family of decomposing bodies, it was just super graphic and gives me hope that this film is not going to pull any punches. Now, scare-wise, I thought that the film only felt moderately creepy, but I do think that it has kind of room and the potential to really deliver. I find that found footage is really perfect for those unexpected jump scares because the way that the frame just holds silent without any kind of music track that's kind of giving you any indication that things are going to jump out, I just find that the jump scares, they can land harder in this format. And I actually also dug the story on this one because a killer kind of tied to a cosmic force. I think that that twist could just really turn the crank into making this movie kind of have some good supernatural jump scares. Overall, I think that Strange Harvest looks like a good watch, especially if it can like really lean into that brutality and some of those like raw serial killer kills. So I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
So we'll start.
Mom?
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a horror sci-fi thriller named Lookout. And this movie is available on Fandango, Apple TV, and Prime Video.
Wow. Shut up, Billy.
A young woman takes respite from her turbulent life and lands a job at a fire lookout tower, only to take a chilling turn when the otherworldly phenomena begin to unfold. It is directed by Stephen Coulson. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Lookout, this one looks like a decent sci-fi thriller horror. Now, the one element that this trailer had that hooked me right away was the mystery, because even watching it, I was already really wondering what was going on. And I don't think that we're in for like super heavy scares, but the tension in this one really felt solid. And depending on exactly what they do with these aliens or this phenomena, we could get some pretty good light creeps along the way. Now, gore-wise, we didn't get much, but there was a scene or two that felt pretty graphic. And even though it was more like a black ooze, it wasn't really blood, it still felt gory, and it could maybe still give the film just a little bit of bite. Overall, Lookout looks decent, and it hooked me enough to wonder what kind of otherworldly things are just waiting in the shadows. So I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
Is there something out there?
There's always beautiful light the morning after a storm.
What happened?
I don't have it.
You don't have what?
She has severe burns on her legs and she doesn't remember how she got them.
I don't have it. I don't have it.
It's mine.
All right, guys, last movie we're going to take a look at this week is a straight horror named Hippo's Revenge. And this movie is available on Google Play, Apple TV, and Prime Video. A father and daughter prepare to open their safari rescue in England, featuring a mother hippo and her calf. But when a ruthless criminal plots to steal them from under the cover of night, chaos erupts. It is directed by Sam P. Green. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Hippo's Revenge, this one looks like a pretty subpar kind of animal horror. Now, I wanted to like it. I really did, because I do enjoy animal horrors, but I felt like this one, it just didn't give me much. So on the plus side, because I always want to try to say something positive, if you are looking for something that will more scratch that kind of action horror itch, this one might do okay. But honestly, the film did have some problems. Like, the hippo just looks like painfully CGI, and it really looked pasted in most of the scenes. And while there was some good fighting and combat, a lot of it just looked very kind of like rehearsed. And unfortunately, just a bunch of the acting really did come off wooden. Bottom line, especially with the hippo being CGI, in my mind in an animal horror, the main kind of star, the hippo, it just looks not good, and that really killed the entire movie for me. So honestly, unless I hear a good buzz about this one, which frankly would kind of surprise me, I think that the hippo is going to get a skip on my watch list.
Hippos belong in Africa. They don't belong in a sorry safari in England. Let's get these majestic beasts out of these crates, eh?
Dora, get out of the way! No!
She was protecting her baby at all costs.
Find the baby, get it on the chain, haul it in the truck, then the mother should follow.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of brand new releases for you guys to watch and stream. I hope you enjoyed this content, and if you did find a couple of gems for your watch list, please leave me a like and subscribe. So if I had to make a couple of picks this week, the first pick I think is clear, and it's going to be Weapons. Because not only do you get that like good cast with Julia Garner and Josh Brolin, which I always love Julia Garner, it's also just a really good, intriguing mystery, like what happened to these kids, and then you just get scenes of these kids kind of doing like powerful supernatural things that are completely diabolical. Like I said, the scene where the person's stabbing their face is just one of the crazy scenes that you see in this trailer. So honestly, I really have high hopes for this one. I've heard really good things about it. It just looks raw and good and disturbing. I'm already kind of wondering exactly what's going on. I've got to watch that one this weekend. So that's going to be my first pick of the week. And for my second pick of the week, I think I'm just going to have to go with Strange Frequencies, the Taiwan Killer Hospital. Just like I said, it's got that kind of Ganjiam vibe where they're just really leaning into a scary place with tons of jump scares, good circle of friends vibe. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of camera angles from all the different people because it is a show they're running, like a reality show. And I just feel like being scared. Like one of the things I really love and watch horror movies for is to be scared. So for this to look like pretty scary in a way, it's kind of got me hyped. It's on Netflix, which means I don't have to pay anything. I just log in and watch it. So that looks good. As soon as I told my girl about that one, her eyes lit up because Ganjiam, like if you haven't seen a movie called Ganjiam Haunted Asylum, that movie is scary. I don't know if it holds up. Like it is getting a little bit old. And I feel like maybe some of the ghostly stuff will look a little CGI nowadays, but man, that is definitely one of the scarier movies I've watched. Just that found footage. It just had some good slow pans that were dead of silence, waiting. Like it was just really good. So if this movie can even like encompass or embody even a little bit of that fear factor, which is something that we're always craving, I think it's going to be a good second pick of the week. Well, guys, that's it for me for real this time, as I've got a ton of movies to watch. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you. I appreciate you. I hope you guys have been safe and taking care of yourselves, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Are you watching?